Hello everyone, it's time for a new video about the energy transition in the European countries and also to talk about the crisis connected to this. Problems with natural gas supply mainly and not enough energy production from renewables. Wind farms, solar, dams, you can say nuclear power is not renewable but it doesn't produce CO2 carbon dioxide while it's operating at least. Which seems that is the main concern in the COP27 meetings. Use your bike and eat the bugs while we travel with fancy jets to Egypt, which doesn't sound that brilliant, but yes, at this point many European countries have been experimented the consequences of the Russian-Ukraine war and the wounds left by lockdowns for COVID-19 as well. They didn't were that necessary after all, but maybe we'll learn that in the future, or kind of pay attention to what happened. Anyway, this also coupled with basically phasing out coal and natural gas use. The issue is that it seems that they had a bad year for wind production and other factors that increase the need for natural gas. And the big concern is how much of a storage of gas there is. It seems not enough for the entire population. Indeed, the European authorities announced, and this was many months ago, they'll be rationing the gas needed to heat the homes. For this even survival aspect, since the EU countries were encouraging to voluntarily cut this usage of gas to have enough for winter. So the question is, where does this come from? If you see Russia's behavior, for example, not wanting to sell gas, according to some, because of the sanctions, because the other countries don't want to pay them in rubles. They are not, this is important to remember, they are not in the obligation to do it, first of all, according to law, and you can say, as another argument, respecting the market share. And on the other hand, which is more obvious, they're wanting to push the approval, certify the Nord Stream 2 pipeline at a time. Europe is a key market for this gigantic company, if I'm not wrong, the biggest in Russia, Gazprom. Those sales, support the Russian government budget, and Europe needs that gas, since replacing decommissioned coal and nuclear plants before these renewable energy sources such as wind, solar are sufficiently built up for this increase in population. That's something the USA fights against, I would say. Let's be honest here. It increases Europe's dependence on Russian gas, and perhaps more important, it gives Russia the possibility of using gas as a geopolitical weapon, let's say. Europe imports most of its gas and gets roughly 40% of its supply from Russia. Now, watch the US. You can say interfering with long-term contracts using the spot market instead. This is what has made prices increase there. And in Congress, you can also see this behavior. Both major parties, Republicans and Democrats, have long objected against the approval of Nord Stream 2. The other argument you may have is to fault the consumers for their poor planning, you can say, for not choosing to sign a contract with a fixed rate, being dependent on the fluctuations of the market, therefore. Although I agree every individual or family has to take these decisions themselves, the government is not their mamas, let's say. Anyhow, at some point, large violent protests will be inevitable when you're pushing the people to choose in between heat or food. Now, this is the worst people were expecting electricity transmission companies to reduce voltage, therefore save power for the worst scenarios. Would be blackouts, probably not that bad if they be notified beforehand so they can prepare. So the other movement, unexpected for me at least, was this attack on September to both pipelines, Nord Stream 1 and 2. I think it is a consensus now that such was the case, and actually none of those pipelines are currently operational, and they were not operational at the time of the attack. They were full of gas somehow, but not moving the gas to Germany. The gas were there for protection purposes, to not allow the ocean water to get in the case of an attack or filtration or something. The question: was this a false flag operation from Russia, as some people says? For what purpose, I ask myself. Did this happen from afar using some type of underwater mines of other explosives? You can say Russia could do it in theory. Why? To intimidate other European countries. Doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but however, if it was an act of sabotage, it has damaged pipelines that were built by the Kremlin-controlled Gazprom and its European partners at the cost of rounding to billions of dollars in damages. The United States could also do it. Do not eliminate the possibility. So let's see if we can find the motivations here. Who could benefit from this? The UK, the US, sorry, can sell their gas for a higher price and control a great part of the EU market, along with Algeria and these other countries. Or you can say Russia is using the same strategy they used during the war against Georgia in 2008. But now, in regards to this transition, it is a good thing, if it's true, that industries like steel making, glass making, the fertilizer sector could be paid to not consume the gas or electricity at peak demand times, considering the Russian gas will last till spring next year, according to their estimations. It seems that the EU thought that when applying sanctions to Russia, they were dealing with some type of weak African country or something, underestimating Russian powers indeed. And yeah, nevertheless, some of its responses are really good. Spain, for example, could be compensating a lot thanks to its renewables, potential pipelines, LNG, if such interconnections are developed, especially with Germany, north and central of Europe. Of course, this will not happen overnight, but it will be done sooner or later. Norway as well could provide natural gas. I believe other countries too, as well, has its potential. Other aspect that plays a role here is how cheap renewable electricity can be in comparison with oil or so-called fossil fuels. A term that is not doesn't make a lot of sense to use, but the fact is that they hardly have any operational cost once installed, I mean. And so there thing that's the reason why it has been reducing its price as time passes by. That's the reason why I do believe that energies at the end will be solar will be dominating at some point. It's interesting to see how things has evolved so rapidly since it was created, this European coal and steel community after World War II. The first supranational organization with the excuse, I was reading about this history, with the excuse of preventing a war between France and Germany at a time, supposedly to never fight on the base of resources at least. And what do you have instead? You have proxy wars, you have loss of sovereignty, independence, national identity in favor of a bigger government, weakening of domestic industries. It's not a, doesn't sound that it's very good. So yes, people, it's important for most of us who are not filthy rich like the clowns of COP27 bureaucrats. We need to take some action, more modest measures, but and the European, of course, I think it's a no-brainer, but I'm trying to spread awareness here to buy the gas and oil ahead, whatever is possible for every budget, the wood, foods, goods, everything that is important for supplies for months. I think, and I'm trying to spread the awareness, especially against the nonsense distracting advertising. We're bombarded almost everywhere, so I think that's important. And yeah, that's it, and thank you for listening.